Hello, guys, and welcome to the Marigold Standard, your weekly audio source of all things Dream Star Fighting Marigold. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I am joined as ever by Mr. Matt Turner. Matt Turner, how are you today?
I'm great, my man. I'm excited to talk about these 4 shows from Marigold. Obviously, playing a little catch-up here. And I don't mean the condiment with the tomatoes ketchup, but we're playing a little catch-up here on the Marigold Standard. But I am doing great. It is a beautiful, beautiful day. We've had some really cold, windy days over here in northeastern Pennsylvania. And then we shot up about 40 degrees from this morning. So I think it was like 22. I think it's 60 something now. So, and I think that we are now on our march towards spring. Well, this might be fake spring number 3. We usually get like 3 or 4 of them. So we're supposed to be in the 50s, 60s, and I think even next Monday or Tuesday it's supposed to hit 70, which then means over the weekend it'll probably snow. So that's how we get phased out. But brother, no, I'm doing good. No sense of complaining. A lot of great wrestling, not just in Marigold, not just in Stardom, not just in Joshi, but all around. I mean, me and you were just talking. The Shuri versus Sari match was great. Me and you were slowly getting through the AEW pay-per-view, which is getting rave reviews from this past weekend. These 4 Marigold shows were terrific. So I got no sense of complaining. How's everything on your end? And how was your weekend? I don't think I talked to you too much via the text message this weekend. How was your weekend?
I just assumed you didn't care, to be perfectly honest, Matt. I was sat there waiting by the phone like, come on, you'll text
No, you don't,
me.
because you're the
You'll
worst at
text.
responding. You were
I really
literally,
am.
I don't think there's anybody I text more than you, because a lot of it has to do with what's going on. Folks were busy. We keep communication open. And there's a lot of times I will see that he read it and just won't respond until like the next day. And I'm like, I need an answer on this. So I'm going to call BS, good sir. I got nothing but love for you. I'm going to call BS because I do text you quite a bit. And then there's sometimes I'm like, I sent him 4 text messages. He read all of them. He didn't get back to me. So you know what? I'm not going to tell. I'll talk to him later then. But anywho, how was your weekend?
I admit I am absolutely dreadful at texting back, and I don't know if Kirsty can hear this through the wall, but yeah, she knows as well that I am awful at responding. To the point where we went to my mum and dad's for lunch after football on Sunday, and I made a joke about my mum not texting Kirsty back, and the look she gave me, Jesus, she proper went, coming from you. So what's that supposed to mean? She's like, I'm still waiting for a response to a text a week ago. Now, it's not that I don't love you guys. It isn't. It's just that I will look at something and go, I'm going to reply to that in a minute. And then I see something shiny and forget.
Like a cat.
Like a cat, like a magpie. That is pretty much what I do. And that's why it takes me so goddamn long to get through a wrestling show, because I'll be watching it, I'll be engaged, and then something will happen out of the periphery, and I'll be like, I've got to go and do that, or I've got to go and see that, or I've got to do that right now. And the show goes on pause, and then it takes me 8.5 hours to get through a 2-hour Stardom show or a 2-hour Marigold show, and I'm like, oh, bugger. But that was a tangent. Yes, I had a lovely weekend. Thank you. The weather was significantly better this weekend than it has been. So sure enough, we are scheduled snow tomorrow. So great. But yeah, no sense in complaining. Like you say, we're in the midst of what can only be described as a wrestling avalanche. As we've got Sariism, we've got AEW Revolution, which was, as you said, a great show. We have had the Cinderella 2025 tournament. We had 4 Marigold shows because the 27th, which we were initially going to cover on the last show, hadn't dropped in time. So we've got 4 to cover. One's coming out tomorrow on video on demand, and they've got a live show as well from Shinjuku Face that is streaming live, including the return of our Lord and Savior Kazuna Tanaka. So again, it's a great time. One of the matches from these 4 shows is one of my favorite matches that Marigold have done in 2025, which is high praise indeed. Yeah, it's a good time to be alive. And Matt, I don't know if people know this, but me and you will be in Vegas soon. I don't know if we've mentioned that or not. But it is now just over a month away.
Yeah, crazy. My Vegas contact actually texted me the other. I keep forgetting because he's got a young child and we're 3 hours ahead because he's on West Coast. I'm on East Coast time, and he trains fighters for a living. So his days start a lot later than mine, a lot later than mine. He lives in Vegas, so I'm sure we'll get tons of stories for him when we tailgate that WrestleMania Sunday. But he texted me yesterday, and I saw it, and I was busy on my side job, and I was like, oh, he probably wants to ask something about WrestleMania, because he too will be one that I will text and I won't get a response for 3 or 4 days later. So it's just, and even Paul, and obviously Paul, who obviously you met at WrestleMania, he works for Electricians Union. He's in Guam right now. He's all over the place. So it's like you never know when you're getting a response back from him. So I guess it's just everybody in my life. And then
People seeing your name come up.
Yeah, and then I got a 20-year-old daughter that I'll text her something and be like, whoop, whoop, not unless it responds to New York Comic Con or a movie that she wants to go see. But anywho, he did send me a text message wanting to talk about fights, and we were kind of going back and forth between the UFC pay-per-view from this past weekend. From what I saw, and I'm like, I'm going to ask him what the game plan is and what other shows if he wants to go to over the weekend. And then I never got to, because he did say that a buddy of his that he trains for fighting, he might be participating on Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. So we might have an in there, even though I definitely purchased tickets. I went and got tickets, and the next day was the announcement of our first Stardom wrestler that we are getting, but not announced for the Stardom show. Not announced for the Stardom show, Rob. But no, you're absolutely right. I'm really excited that, yeah, we are going to be in Vegas sooner before we know. And we have a slew of shows that we are going to be going to, and we have a lot of great stuff on tap. So, yeah, man, super excited for it, and just really just great things, going on with the Stardom cast, the Marigold Standard, and Talk Joshi. And honestly, folks, we can't say thank you enough, because the support really, really is outpouring. I was telling you the other day, I had a couple people sending me messages as I was covering the night one of the Cinderella tournament, early in the morning, asking me that they were on our website and on our social media looking for a link to purchase tickets for our live Stardom Cast show. And I was just like, we're not doing one. We may do an impromptu one at a bar. We might just literally just buy a round of drinks and then put a recorder down and hit record and go from there. I mean, who knows? I was like, yeah, we're just so busy, we're not doing one. But the fact that people want to buy tickets to hear us talk about wrestling, Rob, it's kind of flattering. It really, really is.
It really is. Like, the fact that people subscribe to us is still a humbling thought, to be perfectly honest. So, I had one of my students come up and said, "You've got a podcast, haven't you?" Because he'd seen me on LinkedIn. I was like, "No, no, that's a different Rob. That's a different Rob Good. They don't need to hear this. They don't need to see my face. They see enough of me in the day." So, but yeah, it's lovely to know that people want to hear more of it, and that this was after we dropped 3 episodes that week as well, between the Momo Watanabe primer, which I hope everyone found really useful, especially if you are a newer fan of Stardom. Obviously with the bracketology episode, which I am still in shock, the fact that I am still in the running with both my people reaching the final is unheard of.
You have, as of this recording, we know what the semifinals finals going to be. 3 of your 4 picks have made it into the. You did very well, good sir. So you're guaranteed at least one person will be in your final. So pat on the back, Rob Goodwin. 2 years in a row, you've done very well in this tournament. So good.
I know.
Look at you. Look at that smile, folks. Another reason why you need to watch on YouTube. Look at that guy. Look at that guy. He looks like the cat that just ate the canary.
I do. And then obviously we dropped the actual Stardom cast, which was, over 2.5 hours of Stardom casty goodness. But yeah, it's lovely that people want to hear us again. It seems like a while since we've done a Marigold Standard, and that was because obviously you flew solo last week to cover the show from the 22nd. This week we have got the show from the 27th, which was the end of the New Year Golden Garden tour, and we have got the start of the Spring Victory series, which I've been a big fan of. I feel like recently Marigold have hit their stride somewhat with some of these matches. Again, you've got to bear in mind that the amount of injuries that they've got has severely hampered their roster. So you are having, like Natsumi Shozuki on one of these shows wrestled 2 matches. I feel like everyone who is left on that roster is working their collective arses off. And there's some really big shout outs during this episode. I'm sure there will be, to Victoria Yuzuki, who every time she steps in the ring at the moment is just, it's, appointment viewing. I thought Rhea Sato had a really good set of shows. There was more of a spotlight on Chika Goto. Obviously, Darkness Revolution are a big staple at the moment. And with that comes more Misa Matsui. So I'm happy with that. Nagisa Nozaki, who I feel like, especially recently, has properly come into her own. Like, not only is she just a badass who hits really, really hard, but she seems to have got into a stride with the confidence and the aura that I don't feel like she had that much of at the start of this Marigold run. So really big ups there. That team of Misa Matsui and Nagisa Nozaki, and then of course you throw Bozilla in there, you throw Chiaki in there, who's properly underrated. Again, it's a really enjoyable, easy watch, these Marigold shows, and I'm really, really excited for this upcoming Korakuen, where we have Utami versus Bozilla and a brand new challenger for that white belt. Ooh. But before we get into any of that, we are going to head into some news. And Matt, I am so glad that you brought up Micah being announced for Bloodsport, because this came in a slew of announcements last Friday. Bozilla is also going to be in Las Vegas over WrestleMania week. Obviously, still no news on the Marigold Las Vegas show. I'm going to assume that isn't happening now. We are only a month away from Vegas, as I was saying, so the chances are we'd have heard something. And actually thinking back to it, that this was only really announced through a Rossi Ogawa statement, so it was never officially confirmed by Marigold's Twitter or, Marigold's socials. So again, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, fair enough. Bozilla, though, is going to be in Las Vegas, and she's going to be wrestling on Joey Janela's Spring Break 9 on Friday, April 18th, and that is going to be at the Pearl Theatre at the Palms. But Rob, I hear you cry. Who's she going to be taking on? Well, in something of a dream match, it's going to be Bozilla versus Megan Bayne. I mean, we weren't sure if we were going to go to this show, Matt, to be perfectly honest. It was one of those where we were like, if we can, we'll fit it in, because I know that you are a huge Sabu fan, and Sabu's last match is on this show against Joey Janela.
Supposedly. Joey Janela, he broke his collarbone. So that it's not to interrupt you, but it's kind of going to play it by ear because of that. And I have seen a lot of these spring breaks, and they just seem absolutely wild in the best way possible. Plus, myself and Rob may be going to WWE World, pending for one meet and greet of a certain new champion for WWE. Yes, LA Knight. Yeah, no, I'm talking about Io Shirai. So we're waiting to see, because it seems like every other day they're announcing more and more talent. So we're going to see if we can fit it in. This might be something where it's towards like the last minute, but once this match was announced, which was literally almost the same time as the Micah thing was announced.
Yeah, it was literally within about 2 minutes of each other.
And then I think like an hour later was Meiko Satomaro taking on Minoru Suzuki. So it's just like, oh, jeez.
Just incredible. And then obviously on top of that, Zack Sabre Jr. has now been announced for this show. As I mentioned, play it by ear, but Sabu's last match, it was against Joey Janela when I wrote the article on Talk Joshi. It might not be now, obviously. The Desperados against the Wagner family as well has also been announced for that show. This is going to be great. Like, in terms, like, you look at Bozilla, and in Marigold, there is nobody that matches her in terms of power. And, even when Sadi beat her for the World of Stardom, my God, the Marigold World Championship, that wasn't outpowered. It was outthought, and then the submission move, and that great parallel between Inoki and Andre the Giant. Now, Megan Bayne is someone that does match her for power, matches her in size, matches her in stature. I'm really intrigued to see how Bozilla goes about that match, because she hasn't had one of those in Stardom, in Marigold, with the exception maybe of Nanae Takahashi. But even so, I'd argue that Bozilla is far superior in terms of strength and size to Nanae.
they did a good job building this up on social media. They were kind of going back and forth. I'm like, this will probably never happen because Bozilla, obviously part of Marigold. We're assuming that she's probably going to be NXT bound, probably once her contract runs out, because we know that there's offers, not offers yet, but they know there's definitely interest there, and why not? Because Bozilla is great, and obviously Megan Bain still does the indies, but she's on contract with AEW. They're finally doing something with her. So they're kind of going back and forth. I'm like, this is just fun banter. And then a couple days later, it was announced. I'm like, oh, makes sense because it's GCW. It's Joey Janela Spring Break. Who books most of that show? Joey Janela. Who's Joey Janela dating in real life? Megan Bain. So I was like, oh, that makes sense. He kind of built it up there. And then we kind of, in our realm, with Marigold and Stardom, we look at this as a Marigold versus Stardom match because Megan Bain did own her craft quite a bit over in Stardom and put a big name out for herself, having that great red belt match with Tam, winning the Goddess of Stardom tournament in 2023 with the Micah as part of Divine Kingdom. So it's like, that's the way we're kind of looking at it. And Bozilla hasn't wrestled in the United States, especially since she's been killing it over in Marigold over this past year. So an interesting match indeed. There's some interesting matches WrestleMania weekend between that and then Butterbean and Minoru Suzuki. But it's wild, man. It's wild. But yeah, again, this is one, and I know a lot of people have asked me, you guys going to the show, especially if that announcement, because again, you have a Marigold wrestler and a former Stardom wrestler that were announced. And considering AEW has a great working relationship with Stardom, I wouldn't be shocked if we see Megan Bain on some Stardom shows in the future. And there's a good possibility Megan Bain will be on those U.S. Stardom shows in Vegas during the same week, Rob, because she's right there. She's already right there. I wouldn't be shocked if Megan Bain is on both those shows Thursday and Friday for Stardom. So again, this is one that we'll kind of play it by ear just to see how things go. But there's probably a decent possibility that myself and Rob will be at Joey Janela Spring Break, and shows are absolutely wild.
Yeah, because sleep is for the weak. So again, we can sleep when we're dead. We certainly don't need sleep. I mean, we've already got that Thursday where we've got about 18 shows to go to, and potentially interviews on top of that. So it's going to be a fun time. I'm really intrigued, like I say, by how Bozilla attacks this match, because so often we see her in Marigold, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on in these main events where they're building the match with Utami. Bozilla is very much the dominator of this match, and you simply don't have that power advantage over someone like Megan Bain. And that's something that really, really, really excites me to see how ultimately to see if Bozilla adapts or if we just get basically two people just ramming into each other, which I'm also for. Moving on a little bit then in terms of news. And basically, we've had an announcement for Nanae Takahashi's Passion event. So her produce show, which is airing on April 14th. They've just announced tickets for that on general sale. We know that there are going to be additional participants. Now, we know that obviously Nanae is going to be there. We know that Momo Nakanishi is going to be there as well. But Matt, it has been confirmed that her old pop group friends, Mio Wakizawa and let me just get this right. Sorry. Nomi Kao, or Kao Nomi, I apologize, are going to be there. Now, I don't know if you knew this, but Nanae Takahashi used to be in a relatively popular Japanese pop group called, let me just get this right again, Kiss no Seki, which apparently is No Kiss World in English. There you go. And they released a song which was quite popular called Baku Baku Kiss. There you go. I know that obviously Kiss no Sakai are one of the first things on your Spotify playlist. I know that you're a big, big fan. Move over Clip. But apparently it has been confirmed that they will be performing Baku Baku Kiss for the first time in 13 years, which I love. I think that's great. Also, to confirm to be appearing, Rina Yamashita and Ryo Mizunami, who apparently, according to Marigold's Twitter, have inherited Nanae Takahashi's passion. I think that's certainly the case, having seen a couple of matches from both of these.
Rob, I only have time in my life and room in my life for one band called Kiss. Let's just say that. Yes, yes, rock and roll all night, party every day, buddy. Let me tell you about that. That and the God of Thunder, not to be confused with the Path of Thunder. Dun dun dun.
Absolutely.
Rock and roll. I didn't know any of that with Nane Takahashi. Again, you do such a great job with your research, brother. And the main reason why this podcast does as well as it does is because of the amount of research that you do. But that's really interesting. What now I gotta ask the question. What and I'm putting you on the spot. What instrument did Nane play, or was she just like a singer?
Now, I believe there were 5 members, but Mio Wakizawa and Mika Nishio. Mio Wakizawa left in 2001, August 2001, and she was replaced by Mika Nishio. So they were a quartet. I believe they were all singers. Sharon Q did almost all the lyrics, music, and arrangements. So I don't think Nanae played an instrument. But if we were to suspend that for a moment, what instrument do you think Nanae should play?
Oh, bass guitar, no doubt about it.
Bass guitar.
Bass guitar. Yeah, she'd be the Lemmy Kilmeister of that group. Yeah, no doubt about that.
Yeah, she is the kind of person who would turn that volume knob up to 11 and rip it off Spinal Tap style. See, I think that she'd be one of those people with a tambourine, but she'd be one of those people that would be banging it proper hard, not necessarily in time, just banging it hard in people's face, just yelling the word passion at them. I imagine that's how it would go.
Like Nelson in The Simpsons when
Exactly.
when they're trying out for a band, and obviously Lisa's going for saxophone, and Nelson would be like, "Yeah, you're going to be the tambourine," but that would be nice. Only on the Marigold Standard can we cross-reference Nane Takahashi and Nelson the bully from The Simpsons.
Nelson Muntz. But yeah, obviously, I know that there have been a few different. You're right there, bro.
I think so.
There's been a couple of
passion.
There's been a couple of girl groups that have come out of wrestling. Obviously, possibly the biggest one is obviously Chigusa Nagao and Linus Suka. But again, Kiss no Sakai, no slouches, and I've heard Baku Baku Kiss, and I can assure you it is a song. It is absolutely a song, and it is one of the songs I have listened to today.
So it's no tear shells. Is that you're trying to? It's no double frontier. It's no flowing. Is that you're trying to tell me, Rob?
I think if I was to rank them,
Here we go, folks.
You don't know what I'm going to say. You don't know what I'm going to say.
I'm excited. I can tell you that.
I genuinely do prefer Baku Baku Kiss. It's just got a bit more about it. It's a really catchy song. Listen to it. Listen to it when you've finished on this podcast, and I guarantee you will love it.
How do you find that? Can I find that on Spotify or
I
Apple
think you
Music?
can find it on. I think I listened to it on YouTube. I'm sure it's on YouTube. But yes, so a rendition of that will happen at Nanae Takahashi's Passion Produce event. I believe the name is called All's Well That Ends Well, which is a really, really nice, wholesome name for the event. Can't wait for this, April 14th. So the day after my birthday and the day before we fly out to Vegas. So that's a nice way to see us off into the US. But with that being said, Mr. Turner, we head to the first of our 835 shows that we are reviewing today. We are going all the way back to Thursday, February 27th for the final date of the New Year Golden Garden Tour, night 12 in Frat from the Tabu Friend Hall in Tokyo. An announced attendance of 203. It's the second time Marigold have run the venue, with this attendance being the exact same as the previous time they ran it back on the 28th of 28th of November. I apologize. So moving on, let's talk about the results. So we opened up a singles match, Natsumi Shozuki defeating Riara in 5 minutes and 49 seconds with an ankle lock. It was announced that the winner of those two would go on to face Rhea Sato in a singles match. That was obviously Natsumi Shizuki. Natsumi Shizuki would then win that match as well against Rhea Sato in 6 minutes and 24 seconds. In match 3, Miko Ueno defeated Ryoko Sakimura in 7 minutes and 9 seconds with the 39 Rock. There was then a challenge match where Mai Sakurai was pitted against Minami Yuki, and Mai Sakurai defeated Minami Yuki in 9 minutes and 31 seconds with the Shining Fight kick. Match 5 and your main event for this show was a 10-person tag match, and it saw the Darkness Revolution team of Bozilla, Nagisa Nozaki, Chiaki, Misa Matsui, and Megaton defeating the team of Utami Hayashishita, Mirai, Victoria Yuzuki, Chika Goto, and Nao Ishikawa. Bozilla pinning Nao Ishikawa with the Driller Hole Pile Driver in 20 minutes and 10 seconds. Matt, obviously, we are going to talk about these matches as we wait for them to appear on There We Go. Some interesting things happening on this show. Not just the fact that we saw legitimate kidnapping at the end in the case of poor Nao Ishikawa, but also this setup Natsumi Shizuki versus Nanae Takahashi for what was a tremendous match on the 8th in Osaka. Let's look at Natsumi Shizuki, though, a match with Riara and a match then with Rhea Sato as well. How do you think these two matches went?
Sorry, I was muted there. Yeah, they were both solid. And considering we've been seeing Rhea Sato and Riara team up quite a bit over here in Marigold over the last handful of weeks. So it's almost like now Natsumi Shizuki had to wrestle kind of the makeshift tag team. That's great graphic, buddy. That was good. Like that. Just on cue. What a guy. What a guy. But again, Riara is somebody that's coming along in her career, putting her in the ring with one of our favorite wrestlers in Marigold, the Natsumi Shizuki. She's only going to get better. And this was a nice little outing. Good back and forth, a little over 5 minutes. Not too much time to tell their story, but you understand why the match only got 5 minutes, because as soon as this was over, the American Dragon, Rhea Sato, had to come in. So I had this first match at 3.5 stars. Again, Riara is somebody I like seeing. I like seeing she's coming up. She's getting better each and every match. And one of the reasons why is because she's wrestling great wrestlers like Natsumi Shizuki. But I like this match with Rhea Sato just a little bit better. I had it at 3.5 stars as well, but I liked the Rhea Sato Natsumi Shizuki match just a touch better because I think that they had their styles worked well together, with the submissions trading, the forearms, the great fighting spirit from Rhea Sato, with Natsumi Shizuki really putting the boots to her, but ultimately just getting the win with a head kick and that insane running Samato for the 3 count. Again, it's nice seeing Natsumi Shizuki back-to-back matches, getting about 11 minutes in your first 2 segments. And it's really good booking from Rossy Ogawa. He knows he doesn't have his full roster, not even close, unfortunately, because of the, and I don't mean to make a joke of it, it's just unfortunate with all the injuries. So what's the best thing that we can do? Let's put a crazy main event on, 10 wrestlers, which we'll get into. And hey, let's give double doses of our first super flyweight champion in the opening matches with 2 of the younger wrestlers that are only going to benefit from it. And that's ultimately what it did. Again, both matches, 3.5 stars. I would love to see Natsumi and Rhea Sato go something like 10, 12 minutes. I think that would really benefit both wrestlers because they're both really, really good. And again, Rhea Sato is one of those wrestlers that is ever improving, more so than a lot of the other rookies we see, not only Marigold, but Stardom and just Joshi in general. I'm just a massive fan of Rhea Sato. But ultimately, both of these were really good ways to get this show off to a great start.
Yeah, the thing with Rhea Sato, it does remind me of that line on commentary when Stu and Sonny said it's ever since she's had this new gear. And it's true. She's got this new gear and she feels like a completely different wrestler. She's got that confidence. She's breaking out new things. Yeah, of course, she might still be a little bit green, but the progress she's made is truly tremendous. I feel like a spotlight has also been shone a little bit on Natsumi Shizuki through these, especially these latter 3 shows that we're going to talk about, and rightly so, because she is one of the most consistent performers on this Marigold roster and is often the glue that holds matches together. She's someone that you can tap on the shoulder and just go, we need you to do this, and she will go out and perform. And full credit to her. I'm glad that she got that moment with Nanae. Obviously, post-match, she does say, I want a match with Nanae Takahashi before she retires, a singles match. And it'll be the first time in 13 years that they will have gone one-on-one. What I loved is that they are playing on. So when it was announced that Nanae was retiring, I don't know whether it was on Nanae's Twitter or whether it was on Natsumi's or whether it was on the Marigold official one, but they showed a video of Natsumi Shozuki after the announcement, and she is bawling. Like, she is full on just in pieces. And I really like the fact that that clearly impacted her a lot, and she's getting that moment in the ring one-on-one with Nanae. Really, really nice. Really, really nice. And of course, that match was an absolute certified banger, as we knew it would be. But yes, full credit to Natsumi Shozuki. I think Rhea Sato is improving every time she gets in the ring. Again, we're going to be talking a lot about her and her match with Victoria Yuzuki as well, because that was great. And again, Riara is a solid undercard hand, which has come at a very, very good time. Like I say, we are very, very close to the return of Kazuna Tanaka. In fact, she returns tomorrow. Hopefully, we are going to see the likes of Hummingbird back soon. She was out seconding on the show from the 2nd of March. So fingers crossed her knee injury isn't that bad. Hopefully we see her again soon. Obviously, we've got Naho Yamada. We've got Nagisa Takebana as well, who should be back relatively soon, because I believe her prognosis initially was the end of February with that rib injury. So fingers crossed we see her back on the card as well. Speaking of rookies, Miko Ano and Ryoko Sakimura. Matt, how do you think the young rookie fared against the former United National Champion?
I thought in the beginning it was very well. Nice little back and forth chain wrestling going hold for hold with the first United National Champion. Obviously, Miko Ano, very much like Natsumi Shozuki, one of our favorite wrestlers on this great roster that is Marigold. And Miko Ano gave her enough here, especially in the middle. Gave her enough to kind of shine, able to get a lot of her spots, and she does that one rolling submission where it's almost like a leg scissor, like a neck crank on the head. I really, really like that. Once she starts getting some wins, I would like to see her maybe get a win with that, or maybe set it up with a big move and then going to the neck. But ultimately, though, towards the end, it's just Miko Ano doing what she does and just using those strikes, using those submissions, able to take that MMA style. We know she trains at the K1 Kickboxing Dojo. That's no joke. And she just basically, towards the end of this match, she just mauls over the rookie, but the ever improving rookie. Again, say it all the time, I'm going to say it here again. The only way to get better is by wrestling people better than you. That's why we see a lot of these Joshi wrestlers developing a lot faster than you would see an independent wrestler over here in the United States, is because they're in the ring with the best of the best. And you're not going to find too many wrestlers better on this planet than one Miko Ano. So I like the booking of this match. I like how Miko Ano gave Ryoko just enough to make her look good, then ultimately just putting her away with the buzzsaw kick and then that modified Achilles lock. Another 3.5 stars for me, my friend. 3 matches at 3.5 stars. Really solid show as we get into these last 2 matches.
Yeah, I feel like this show was certainly building towards that blockbuster main event. But what I like about Ryoko Sakimura is she's approaching these matches far differently than I've seen from the vast majority of rookies. If you look at, and again, I'm it's quite a sweeping statement, but you see a lot of rookies who will start the matches and it will be a lot of drop kicks, a lot of your very basic holds, and they do it very well, obviously, because it's what's drilled into them in the dojo. With Ryoko Sakimura, we've seen a lot, especially recently, of opening matches with chain wrestling and focusing a little bit more on the submissions. And I applaud her for doing, those different things, those, starting matches in different ways and sort of subverting what you expect from a rookie match. I think the start of matches, she's looking really good. I think she's still sort of running out of steam a little bit towards the end of a match, but again, that's going to come with time. I think she's showing a lot of potential. And even walking down to the ring, I know it's a really simple thing, but even that she's doing with more of a swagger. Not quite the Arina Yamanaka swagger, which we're going to be talking about at the end of this, because goodness gracious me, talk about aura. But I've got a good feeling about Ryoko Sakimura. I really have. And again, this was another good outing for the rookie. Speaking of rookies, we have got the Rookie of the Year from last year, Manami Yuki, taking on Mai Sakurai. Mai Sakurai dispatching her in 9.5 minutes. We've seen Manami Yuki in more and more prominent positions on these Marigold cards. Now, obviously, that might be because of injuries, but even before the injuries, we were seeing her in main events. I know that she was in the main event. One that really sticks out to me was she was in the main event of a 6-woman at KBS Hall, where, she was in, and she really did stick out like a sore thumb in terms of like star power. But Marigold clearly sees something in Manami Yuki. She's another one similar to Rhea Sato who's improving all the time. What did you think of this with her and Mai Sakurai?
Another great outing. You're taking Mai Sakurai again. In kayfabe, she's the second best wrestler on the roster because she is holding, and if you're watching on YouTube, over her right shoulder, the unchampionship, as Rod calls it, the pure white belt. So again, we talked about the ever improving, how much Rhea Sato is improving, and Manami Yuki is right there as well. She's right there as well as somebody that is just like, wow, she's getting so much better each and every match. And when you're in the ring with one of your main eventers and Mai Sakurai, it's only going to help. And I liked how this match starts. Some good chain wrestling back and forth, very much like we saw in the earlier matches. And then Sakurai just bulldozes over her. The forearms, the kicks, the boot scrapes. I mean, basically using what's brought her to the dance and what helped her get that United National Championship is that really heavy striking that she relies on. And then Manami Yuki just flips a switch and she's able to fight back. You see the selling, you see her fighting from underneath. You see the underneath baby face that you can really get behind in certain matches, especially now, Rob, that we have our first true heel faction with the Darkness Revolution Army. So I can see like maybe her having a singles match with Chiaki or Nagisa Nozaki where she's getting proper heat and she's able to sell and then show that fighting spirit on her comeback. And that's what she did here with Mai Sakurai. I thought it was really good. I thought it was really good that she was able to fight from underneath and really give the champion here quite a run for her money. But ultimately, though, it is the Shining Black Shades of Masahiro Chono that put away the young Manami Yuki. Again, I see bright things in the future for Manami Yuki. And again, I like this booking. Again, I said it a minute ago. I'm going to say it again. You only get better by wrestling wrestlers better than you. Sakurai did a great job getting Manami Yuki over in this match. 3.5 stars for me, my friend. Another excellent outing. I'm really, really excited for the future of one Manami Yuki because very much like Rhea Sato and Naho Yamato and now Ishikawa is one that every time I watch one of these Marigold shows, you can see them progressively getting better. And if they're getting better week to week, what are they going to look like in 6 months, 8 months, at the end of the year, this time next year? They very well can be in the main event scene. They can very well be in the main event scene in a year from now. And I'm really excited for them.
Speaking of Nao Ishikawa, she was part of this massive 10-woman tag team main event. This was a lot of fun to watch, Matt. And obviously, we'll talk about the abduction post match a little bit later on. That I have a theory as to how they are going to do this, and I quite like that. We did see the re-debut of Gigaton. I'm wondering if that's got something to do with it. But yeah, this was great. And again, you are looking to assert Darkness Revolution as your dominant faction in this company, and this was the win that they needed. I mean, you look at that babyface team: Utami Hayashishita, Mirai, Victoria Yuzuki, arguably your three biggest stars, your three biggest shining stars at the top of this company. And then you have got the Darkness Revolution, who you are looking to assert. How do you do that? By getting a dominant win. And of course, it's Bozilla that gets the victory. She's the one challenging Utami for the Marigold World Championship. But overall, I thought this was a great fun, a really, really good main event. This sort of main event is exactly what these, quote unquote, house shows are built for.
Yeah, it just seems to be ever since Marigold's first few shows that the biggest underneath baby face versus overwhelming heel is Bozilla versus Nao Ishikawa. And that's basically kind of what happens here. A lot of bullying. We may say that Bozilla might be the Nelson Muntz, Rob Goodwin, of Marigold here, because she ultimately just bullies Nao. And we've seen it so much. And Nao Ishikawa, she's so lovable. She's easy to get behind, especially going up against a monster like Bozilla. And Bozilla knows how to be a heel. We've seen her in certain shows because she's so dominant, so awesome that she can easily get over as a babyface. But she knows how to be a heel. And this match starts off the perfect way. Big brawl. I don't know if we've ever had a 10-woman tag proper in Marigold before. I just maybe just because of the roster still trying to find its footing and try to expand. So it's like I'm like, this might be the most people outside of a battle royal that's ever been in Marigold before at the same time. And they just started off with a crazy brawl. And you have that really cool arena where it's set up on the stage, and then it's almost like a theater. So you have a lot of different places where everybody can go. I'm like, okay, here I'm all for this. Let's start this match out wild. And then we get some heat. Obviously, Mirai comes in. She's all fired up. Great stuff with Victoria Yuzuki and Misa Matsui. I mean, they work really well together. But ultimately, a lot of this is just planting the seeds, selling more tickets, selling more Wrestle Universe subscriptions to our next big match we have coming up in Korakuen Hall with Bozilla and Utami Hayashishita. And folks, you're gonna hear me say that a lot because all these shows were pretty much just like Bozilla Utami, Bozilla Utami, Bozilla Utami. We're hammering that home. That is our next big championship match, and they did a great job for adverts for that. Again, this was out of control in the best way possible because you have your heel faction, your dominant heel faction against a lot of star power on the babyface side. Again, Yuzuki is probably the MVP of this match, really understood her assignment here. Ultimately, she gets in what she needs to get in, looks great. Again, Mirai's the hammer. Her stuff right when Nagisa Nozaki never disappoints. Again, now was great here. Chikagoto was very well over in this match, but ultimately it was just making Bozil look like a monster and really, really driving home the fact that we can see a title change on Korakuen Hall. Again, I don't think this is the review for the show. I don't think it's going to happen. But at the same time, you want to make your challenger, especially as a heel, leading your new heel faction, look like an absolute killer. And that's what this show and all the other shows that we're going to talk about did. It's simple booking. This was my favorite match of the show. 4 stars. Greatly done. And I say it all the time when you get these multi-person matches, sometimes a lot of things can go wrong because if somebody misses a spot or somebody's a half a step off or a split second too early, a split second too late, it can kind of throw things off. That didn't happen here. This is a really great job done by these two teams and these two fantastic wrestlers. Again, 4 stars for me, partner.
So the big question, I suppose, following this, aside from, what's the ceiling for Misa Matsui? Because I feel like the answer is there isn't one. We said that, you're trying to assert this heel stable as the dominant force, but also you're trying to build new stars. And I feel like this has been a lightning shot in the arm of Misa Matsui, who's done great work since turning heel. What do you think, if anything, is going to come of Nao Ishikawa being abducted? Because I really like the fact that this then brought about Gigaton again. Whether this now sort of means that Nao Ishikawa will start teaming with Darkness Revolution, and maybe we have a Megaton and Gigaton tag team title challenge. I don't know whether we'll see her sometimes team with the Darkness Revolution as Gigaton and sometimes as Nao Ishikawa, like a split personality sort of thing. I don't know. What do you think, if anything, is going to come of this abduction angle?
I think what they should do is she should team from time to time with the Darkness Revolution army, and then still be and then like on the next show still be a baby face, and just like don't even mention it. Just be like, yeah, okay, I'm teaming with Utami, and the next day like, oh, the Gigaton's teaming with Bozilla. Oh, now Ishikawa didn't make the town. Like just completely as if it's 2 completely different people. I think that'd be a nice little funny underneath story that they can do where she can do the fun Gigaton thing, and then have her the next day have her just be Nao Ishikawa, because it's a credit to how talented she is, Rob. She's over with both personalities, and considering they're completely different. Like you look at Kerry Oniyama when she does Fukin Death or Death Yamasang or Billiken Death, it's kind of almost, other than like the costume, she still kind of almost has the same moveset, right? It still kind of works for her, and she just tweaks the character a little. Gigaton is completely different from Nao Ishikawa, and Nao Ishikawa is completely different from Gigaton, but she knows how to work Nao, and she knows how to work Gigaton, which is just a credit to what a great overall performer that Nao Ishikawa is. Again, if I was asked what I would do, that's what I would do. I would just play it up as one night she does Gigaton, the next night she does Nao Ishikawa, and like don't even play it off. It's just like because they're 2 completely different people. Like, oh yeah, she had a birthday party, she couldn't be here for Thursday, or whatever.
I love it. I think that's great. So we move on then from that show onto the beginning of the Spring Victory series, the 1st of March for this opening show in the Osaka 176 box. No, it's not. I apologize. Ignore me. It's not from Osaka 176 box. I've got my notes the wrong way around. It's from the Tota Green Dome Maibashi in Gunma. The attendance was 203 again. This is Marigold's first time running the venue. Marigold is seemingly only the fifth company to run the building since 2023. Stardom ran it in 2023 and hit 370. Noah 309 in 2023. Oz Academy ran it in 2024 and hit 450. And then Diana ran it this year, but didn't announce their attendance. So again, doesn't seem to be a massive wrestling venue, but those are your numbers nevertheless. In terms of your results, they are as follows. In a singles match, Minami Yuki defeated Ryoko Sakimura with the wrist clutch front face lock in 5 minutes and 57 seconds. In another singles match, Nao Ishikawa defeated Riara with the double arm face buster in 6 minutes and 12 seconds. In a singles match, Victoria Yuzuki defeated Rhea Sato with the cross-arm suplex in 8 minutes and 17 seconds, which was, spoiler, match of the show. Tag team match, Mai Sakurai and Miko Ueno defeated the Darkness Revolution team of Chiaki and Megaton, with Miko Ueno muscling Megaton into a Styles Clash in 8 minutes, which was really quite impressive when you think about it. The first of the Passion Countdown matches was your semi-main event, with Nanae Takahashi defeating Chika Goto with a figure four leg lock in 13 minutes and 45 seconds. And then in your main event, six-woman tag match, the Darkness Revolution team of Bozella, Nagisa Nozaki, and Misa Matsui once again defeated the team of Utami Hayashishita, Mirai, and Natsumi Shozuki, with Bozilla absolutely destroying Natsumi Shozuki with that sit-out powerbomb. I felt that, and I'm thousands of miles away, in 16 minutes and 19 seconds. Matt, the opening match then, Minami Yuki and Ryoko Sakimura. I felt like this was standard fare, really. You got what you expected. Ultimately, a victory for Minami Yuki, which, again, when you look at where they are on the Marigold Totem Pole, doesn't come as a great surprise, but 5 minutes and 57 seconds. How do you think Ryoko Sakimura did here?
Yeah, solid enough match. Again, you have Ryoko Satomura, who's only been wrestling a handful of months, and Minami Yuki isn't that too far along in her career. Again, I would have mixed this up. I would have had another veteran in there. Maybe have someone that has a little bit more experience, again, because that's the only way they're going to get better. Regardless, it was a really good match. You went around 6 minutes. You're able to tell a story. It was a nice 50-50 match with Minami Yuki getting the win with that hammerlock guillotine that we've seen her debut just a few months ago. 3.25 stars. Really, really solid outing from these two younger wrestlers. But again, I would have had the only way you're going to get better is by wrestling somebody better than you. These two are kind of on each other's level. So you're not too much improving. But regardless, considering the fact that they don't have too much combined experience, was still a really solid match and really a good way to start the show, which is a credit to how far along these two are in their career, their young careers this early, really farther than, the average wrestler would be.
Moving on then, Nao Ishikawa, who has come through the abduction unscathed, apparently, against Riara. Again, I love Nao Ishikawa. Nao Ishikawa has the potential to be a really strong babyface for this company. How do you think she did against Riara, who, again, a solid performance from her, I feel?
Yeah, really good match. I like the psychology of Nao Ishikawa trying to go, Riara going for the ankle lock, but now keeping rolling through. They really played on that story, and they were able to tell a story in about 6 minutes. You had a nice back and forth chain wrestling to kind of warm the crowd up here. And then Riara really tries to go for that ankle lock, but now Ishikawa keeps getting away. Eventually, Riara gets that hold, and now Ishikawa gets the ropes, and she realizes the psychology of the match is, like, I didn't like being in that. I need to get away from that. I know she's working towards that. Then eventually now starts really firing off that really high impact offense, and then puts her away with her versions of Angel's Wings for the 3 count. Good storytelling. Great way to get Riara over. And now we're establishing that she has the ankle lock and nobody wants to be in it. And now Ishikawa did a good job of getting away from it and then saying, you know what? Let's take this baby home because I don't want my ankle to be broke, because if I do, my alter ego Gigaton may come out. But regardless, Rob, again, Good storytelling, 3.25 stars.
You nodded your head violently when I said that this next match was the match of the show. Victoria Yuzuki and Rhea Sato. Already in the one match we've looked at prior, we were full of praise for Rhea Sato. I said at the top of the show that we were going to be spending a lot of time talking about how Victoria Yuzuki seems to be going from strength to strength to strength. And I mean that in the best possible way. I mean, she's a champion and she's, one of the brightest sparks in Marigold without a shadow of a doubt, and certainly is someone who you can class as the future ace. But even so, the confidence with which she carries herself in ring now, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago about how she was getting a little bit of not so constructive criticism on social media from some for attempting and failing at certain moves. And me and you both said actually to have the confidence and the sort of optimism to try these things, the ambition to try these things, if you can't try them on the quote unquote house shows, where are you going to try them? That's exactly where you should try them. And not only has she continued to do that, she's then smashed it. We've seen her absolutely nail the moonsault later on in the canon of shows we're going to talk about. And here she led this match beautifully. More experienced than Rhea Sato, but again, in ring, not a great deal of experience between the pair. I thought they did tremendously well. Victoria Yuzuki, again, coming across like a star. Rhea Sato coming across like a real killer with some of these submission moves that she's breaking out, and she's transitioning so smoothly into really, really, really good match. Definitely one you need to check out on this show.
Rob Goodwin, for our fine folks watching over on YouTube, we've been calling Rhea Sato the American Dragon, but if you look at this picture, I think she's channeling Spider-Man there. It looks like she's doing the web shooter there. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe we might call her Spider-Woman Rhea Sato. She's got a lot of nicknames, buddy. She's got a lot of nicknames.
Spider Sato, indeed.
Oh, there it is, Spider Sato. This was my second favorite match of these 4 shows that we are going to that we're reviewing. I'm sure me and you probably have the same one and number 2. This is 4.25 stars. This is definitely one that everybody should check out. I have a new segment on YouTube called my top 5 favorite Joshi matches that I watched this past week. This one just missed the top 5 of the matches. Yes. Well, there was some decent, and I even said YouTube clip, which is available, that number 1 and number 2 were very easy for me, but like 3 to 10 was really difficult. And this one was definitely in the mix. This one was absolutely fantastic. You get some great ground grappling to start, some really good chain or catch wrestling. Eventually, though, Rhea Sato gets the advantage, gets the mounted forearms of Victoria Yuzuki, starts really ripping apart Victoria Yuzuki's arm. Really does a great job staying on to Victoria Yuzuki's arm. Victoria Yuzuki just goes into her other gear, that high-speed gear, that Superfly gear is the reason why she is the champion of that division. Just really great explosive offense. The way she hits that basement drop kick, just absolutely beautiful and brutal at the same time. She hits the Northern Light suplex for a 2 count. Rhea Sato is able to come back to the cross arm breaker. Victoria Yuzuki does a great job selling said arm. It looked like that maybe there might have been a tap out, or the referee did a good job of checking in on Victoria Yuzuki, showing the danger almost that we were going to get a referee stoppage, which I thought would have been really interesting if they went that way. Ultimately, though, it is a roaring elbow and a super kick combination that was just brutal, one after another, that leads to the cross arm or straightjacket suplex for the 3 count. The fact they were able to tell so much story in this match, and they did it in just over 8 minutes, and the fact they were able to fit so much in is a credit to both these talents. And considering the fact that they're both very young, not only in their career, but in life, and they're able to tell this great of a story in just a shade over 8 minutes, and then kind of tease we may be getting a rematch for this for said championship, for the Super Flyweight Championship, I'm all for it. This was great. And again, folks, if you haven't seen this match, definitely take the time to watch this match, because this is what great pro wrestling is all about between these 2 fantastic wrestlers. Again, 4.25 stars for me.
Now, it turns out, Matt, that Mai Sakurai and Mika Ueno have very, very little time for Megaton shtick. And the emphatic nature of the finish sort of goes to show what Mika Ueno thinks of this.
This is kind of a mismatch, right? And considering the fact that's like if you want to do mismatch, you probably want to put your heels in the mismatch to get heat. But it's like you have Chiaki, who's great, but we've seen when she comes to these main event wrestlers, the only way for get her an advantage is to break the rules or bend the rules, which is fine because that's what you want to do as a heel.
As a heel,
Megaton,
yeah.
again, Megaton is, you're not getting Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat 1989 out of her, but you are getting some entertaining matches. But on the babyface side, you have Miko Ano, first United National Champion, and the second United National Champion, the person she lost to on First Dream, and what was an absolute phenomenal match, one of the best wrestling matches I've seen so far in this fantastic year of wrestling. So it's like, these two are great. They're main eventers in Marigold. They're two of the best wrestlers in Joshi and in Japan. And it's just like, yeah, you're right. They start the match out with just double teaming on Megaton. You're absolutely right there. It's like, we don't have time for this. We don't. Eventually, Jackie goes into her heat segment, does a good job getting heat, but doesn't last long. Eventually, you have your first and second champion just really, really just with their high impact, high pace style offense, just really just beat down Chiaki. And then eventually it's the Styles Clash on Megaton. Fun enough match, but it's really interesting when you have Sakurai and Ano teaming. They're a bunch of ass kickers, Rob Goodman. I would love to see them against Celine Four or Utami and Yuzuki, or a Bozil and Misa Matsui, because they worked really well together. We know they're great opponents and they're really good teammates here, and we saw it here. 3.5 stars for me, a fun enough match. But you're absolutely right. They were like, no, we're not here to play. We're not here to play. And poor Megaton, they weren't there to play, but Megaton was there to pay the toll. She paid the toll, all right.
Good grief, didn't she just? I like what you're thinking with the tag team, and I think you can tell a story there, especially with Miko Ano's sort of slump at the start of this year, and the only the way that she was picking up victories at the end, that sort of to bring herself out of that was by teaming with Mai Sakurai, who they've developed a really good chemistry from feuding together at the end of last year. But I don't want to see Bozella or Misa Matsui. I want to see Misa Matsui and Nagisa Nozaki. That's who I want to see as the team. And I want to see them challenge for the Twin Star titles. I want to see those two win the belts as well. I think they could be two to watch for whenever Sari Yamaoka is back. And obviously we wish Sari Yamaoka the best still off these cards. I don't think she's due back on the Shinjuku Face one. Obviously we hope she is well and that she is fit and healthy. The first of the Passion Countdown matches, Chika Goto looking to take on Nanae Takahashi. Obviously, a big spotlight on Chika Goto here, stepping into the ring with Nanae, who, of course, retires in May, and that's not that far away. It's just over 2 months away, and Nanae is a retired wrestler, which is mad to say out loud. Chika Goto, what do you think of the performance she gave? I know that obviously she didn't win, but what do you think of the rub that she got from Nanae here?
Starts with a big lockup, Rob. I'm in.
Oh, there you go. 4 stars.
You give me a big lock, and I can't wait on the Stardom cast to talk about the lockup of the year with Kamatani and Tam, because oh man, that was a Ricky Morton versus Dennis Condrey lockup. But anywho, big lockup. I'm ready to go. We get the tackle trade off, and then Nanae gets into passion mode. The yelling, the strikes, the beatdown of young Chika Goto. We've seen it in these passion matches that Nanae has been doing over the past few years. Is can the younger wrestler fight back? And she does. And Chika Goto properly gets whooped, but she keeps fighting back, showing the fighting spirit, showing that, lack of a better term, passion. And Nanae brings it, but Chika Goto brings it back. Eventually, Chika Goto gets a series of forearms in, gets the giant swing. The giant swing goes into the abdominal stretch, which I thought was great. Then we get Nanae able to fire back with those short arm lariats and a big German suplex. Nanae then properly grounds Chika Goto with a great knee bar. Now we start seeing the knee work here, really picking apart Chika Goto's knee, just back and forth, or not back and forth, just really hammering it down. Anytime Chika Goto would try to get an advantage or show that fighting spirit for a second or third time in this match, Nanae would go back to the knee, locks in the figure four for the tap out. I like the fact because we don't see Nanae win enough matches with the figure four, and the psychology made sense. And we just saw that she could go to wouldn't stay down, wouldn't stay down, wouldn't stay down. Finally, the legend, Nanae Takahashi, was finally able to put her away with that figure four. And they worked it really well. They sold it. It looked like Chika Goto's going to get to the ropes, and Nanae just kept torquing on it. This was a really solid enough match. It showed what these passion injection matches are supposed to do. They're supposed to show the fighting spirit from the younger wrestlers on Nanae Takahashi. And that's exactly what they did here. 3 3/4 stars. I thought Goto looked great here.
Yeah, and again, she's really utilizing that spotlight. You know, she was in the main event for a couple of these shows. She was in a prominent position here. It's sort of been obvious for a long time that Marigold are hot on both Koki Amare and Chika Goto as future stars in this company. And though Koki Amare is arguably the biggest star at the moment, certainly in ring anyway. Chika Goto, I feel, is slowly but surely getting there. The stamina is no longer a problem. I feel like 15 minutes to Chika Goto isn't an issue anymore. And I think paired with the right opponent like she is here, I think she gives a really, really, really good underdog babyface performance. One of my favorite performances from Chika Goto was in that tag match against Nanae and Arisa Nakajima, where she was just basically battered for 20 minutes of that match, but it was such a good performance. And I think she is such a good baby face that the more reps she gets in ring, she is going to be a real force in this company. And again, you know, we're not necessarily just relying on the hip attacks, which I feel like she was slightly over reliant on. Until quite recently, and especially when she's in serious Chika Goto mode. I'm not necessarily bothered in, you know, a throwaway 6-woman tag, but when you're in a spotlight against Nanae, when it's the Passion Countdown, I feel like Chika Goto has started to sort of adapt her move set somewhat, which I'm a big fan of. And we saw it when she was wrestling with Mirai. She utilized a slightly amended move set to sort of showcase the importance of the occasion. I think she did that again here against Nanae, and again a very, very solid outing for Chika Goto, which we're getting more and more of, which I'm very, very happy about, because as a star, as aura, confidence, character, she's got it all. She's got it all, and she's slowly putting it together in ring as well, which is great. Moving on to our main event, then Utami Hayashishita, Mirai, Natsumi Shozuki is what I meant to say. Bozilla Misamatsui and Nagisa Nozaki. Someone please check on Natsumi Shozuki, because goodness gracious me, that powerbomb, Matt.
Yeah, again, this is another match where we're driving home Utami and Bozilla. And this match starts off with Utami and Bozilla, and I like how Utami gets the shine first. Is able to put down the bigger, stronger Bozilla. So what does Bozilla and the rest of the Darkness Revolution army do? Cheat to get the advantage. Simple story to tell. And then we go to a wild brawl. I like that. And then we get heat on Utami. We've gotten a lot of heat on Utami in these matches. She's the champion. She's the best wrestler in this company. She does a great job selling and putting everybody over, especially Bozilla in these series of matches, because, again, we got that big match coming up in Korakuen Hall. What saves the babyface team and Utami here? It's the random combination of speed and strength, speed and power of Natsumi Shozuki and Mirai. They come in, it's just like boom, 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 back and forth, where it's just like, obviously Mirai does have a lot of speed, but it's the power of those lariats. And the same thing with Natsumi Shozuki. So I really enjoyed their little teamwork there. Eventually, Misa Matsui, she gets in there, and just her stuff, again, with Natsumi Shozuki, we've seen it before, is really good. Great chemistry with Mariah's opponent. I thought there was some great stuff there. Nagisa Nozaki is much of the hammer in this match when they're building the heat, and then you're going to your waterfall finishes. Eventually, we do come back to where we started with Utami and Bozilla. Utami hitting the torture rack drop onto Bozilla. Then we see Natsumi Shozuki. She's able to take advantage of that. She gets a cradle onto Bozilla for a 2 count, and she fires up on Bozilla and properly just kicks Bozilla in the head. There were some stiff strikes onto the badass Bozilla here. Maybe that power bomb at the end, that might have been a receipt, Rob. Might have been a receipt, because really nice little end segment there with Natsumi and Bozilla. And then anytime Natsumi was getting in trouble, it was Utami that was setting her up for success. And we saw that when Utami was leader of Queen's Quest, that it was a Kamatani, a Lady C, a Zumi, whoever was in trouble in these tag matches, she would come in and set them up for success, which goes to show you what a main eventer and leader of this team and of this company that she is. But again, yeah, I mean, Natsumi was properly like kicking the crap out of Bozilla. Like, oh boy, I wonder if there's going to be a receipt. There was a receipt. There was all the paper, all the register right there, with just an insane power bomb, ending this match for one Natsumi Shozuki. 3 3/4 stars. Really great match. And again, another great outlier to preview the big match we have coming up in Korakuen Hall in just a few weeks' time. And like I said before, I got Nagisa Nozaki, the hammer in this match. I thought she was great. And again, Misa, her stuff with Mirai, Utami, and Natsumi was terrific. And I really think, Rob, somewhere down the line, maybe at the end of the spring, beginning of the summer, we're going to be getting a big red belt match with Misa Matsui and Utami Hayashishita. The way that Misa's being built up, obviously, we got the chance to interview Utami Hayashishita. Cheap plug, if you have not listened to the interview, it is in the archives. Just scroll up, you'll see it right there. She did make mention that one of the wrestlers she wants to wrestle is Misa Matsui. That was obviously before the heel turn. Misa Matsui is a great in-ring competitor. Now that we have a little tweak on her character, fresh coat of paint with this heel run, and she's over as a heel, I think that's where this is going to go and where it should go. I think there'd be a big match in Korakuen Hall where they can probably draw that 800-900 people that they would like to get to. Ultimately, great match. Again, we're building towards that Utami Bozilla match, and this match did its job perfectly. 3 3/4 stars for me.
Yeah, it was a really, really good match. I think what you've got in Utami is something that you didn't necessarily have in Sari, who was quite a dominant champion, very, very imposing, very seemingly insurmountable until it came to someone like Bozilla, who matched her in a power way. And you can see that from the way that Sari attacked the Dream Star. Utami is very powerful, but is such a wonderful seller. Like, on the defensive, there are so few wrestlers that are as good as Utami Hayashishita. And, she's going to make Bozilla look like even better than she is, because I don't actually want Bozilla to lose, because I quite like the idea of Bozilla as champion, but then you're like, well, certainly not knocking Utami off the top pedestal. So it's one of those where that Utami's going to win, and rightly so. But this is something that has been built up really, really well over these Road 2 shows, is just how dominant Bozilla is and just how well Utami is going to sell for Bozilla's bigger moves in Korakuen Hall. It's going to be really, really exciting. I'm very excited to watch it.
Yeah, I just want to just piggyback on something you said with Utami being such a great seller, which we've known pretty much since 2018, is that when you're a babyface and you're a great seller, even when you're champion, what does that do? It makes your opponent, especially in a big match, look better than they already do, and it builds sympathy on the champion. So when he makes her comeback, it just means more. So yeah, great pointing that out, partner, as always, making a mention of how great of a seller Utami is, even though she is the best wrestler in this company and she is the champion as the top baby face. It just means more to your heel that you're working, gets them over. And when she's making her comeback, especially that finishing stretch she does, it basically just puts it over more and gets the psychology and the crowd investment more. It's just the genius that is Utami Hayashishita, one of the smartest crowd psychology wrestlers in the world.
Absolutely, could not agree more. So the following day, Marigold moved to Kanagawa for night 2 of the Spring Victory Series 2025. We were in the KDU Gymnasium, which stands for the Kanagawa Dental University Gymnasium. So there you go. The attendance, 340 people. Now, though this is Marigold's debut in the venue, it's a 51.1% increase on the last time they ran the prefecture of Kanagawa. Now, this was a smaller venue, granted, 225 in the Hodegaya City Hall on the 16th of February. But even so, drawing more people to the same prefecture has got to be seen as a good thing. It's a really, really big jump as well. And perhaps we will see Marigold running this venue more and more. Now, this card was altered from the card that was announced to the point where we don't actually have graphics for the first 2 matches. I don't know why it was changed initially, but it was changed anyway. We open with a singles match, Rhea Sato defeating Megaton with a double chicken wing hold in 5 minutes and 54 seconds. That great cattle mutilation that she's got going on. Singles match, then we saw the re-emergence of Gigaton. She defeated Ryoko Sakimura with a neck lock in 6 minutes and 53 seconds. In a tag team match, Chika Goto and Miku Aono defeated Manami Yuki and Mirai, with Miku Aono getting the victory with the Texas Clover Swing in 14 minutes and 1 second. In your semi-main event, Darkness Revolution, Misa Matsui and Nagisa Nozaki, and the team of Natsumi Shozuki and Mai Sakurai, that ended in a 15-minute time limit. I really enjoyed this match, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a bit. And then in your main event, tag team action, Utami Hayashishita and Victoria Yuzuki, they defeated the Darkness Revolution team of Chiaki and Bozilla, with Utami pinning Chiaki with the German suplex in 12 minutes and 4 seconds. Matt, opening match, obviously we haven't got graphics for these first two matches for our YouTube fans because, again, the card was changed. Rhea Sato and Megaton, again, you know what you're getting from Megaton. Over with the crowd, as I will repeatedly say, over with the live crowd. But again, you know what you're getting. Submitted in short order. And the quest for a Megaton singles victory continues. I believe that she's 0-8 now in career singles matches. You know that when she gets that big singles victory in Korakuen Hall and raises that Marigold World Championship belt above her head, crowd's going to lose it. Crowd's going to go nuts.
Do you think, because Megaton is a character that's so over, that when Bozilla defeats Utami and Korakuen Hall, and then Megaton pulls out a Money in the Bank briefcase and cashes in, and her first win is for the Crimson Red Belt, you think that's the place to do it, right? Makes sense.
I would love to see her steal Nagisa Nozaki's suitcase, that really tiny one, and try and cash it.
Looks like a makeup kit. Is that the one like where her and Mai Sakurai, they had the match for the pure white belt and
at the end of the
and
match.
then the money, yeah. And she's been using it as a gimmick. She's been
using
it, which is again, I know a lot of we compare just because a lot of, and I know we do it as well because a lot of the Marigold listeners and watchers watch Marigold and they watch Stardom. They're comparing the little I guess makeup kit to Ruaka's lunch crate. Well, I like this better because it's smaller, it's more compact. Yep. You can hide it. You can hide it better. Where Ruaka hits the crate, and you're just like, there's a giant suitcase in the middle of the ring, ref. What do you think happened? Like, I like this gimmick a lot.
Easier to hide than bloody spray paint.
Yeah, that's another story for another day. These first two matches, because we don't have graphics, I can kind of lump them together. Fun comedy matches. That's what they were. Rhea Sato and Megaton. Rhea Sato just takes down Megaton. It's ground and pound. Megaton gets a little bit. Rhea Sato then is able to come back with the cattle mutilation. And same thing with Naomi Ishikawa and Ryoko Satomura. Ryoko got a little bit here. She looked pretty good. Obviously, the Gigaton gimmick is something that is very well over. But again, both these matches were comedy matches. They didn't hurt. They didn't overstay the welcome. I both gave them the gentleman's 3 stars.
Moving on then, as we get to our first official match with an actual graphic, Chika Goto and Miku Ano defeating the team of Mirai and Minami Yuki. And this is what we mean about Minami Yuki. You look at this, the caliber of talent she's in the ring with, Mirai, Miku Ano, both at the top of the company, Chika Goto perhaps just below them, and then you've got Minami Yuki. But again, you've said it before, Matt, you'll say it many more times over the years of doing this podcast, but the better you get better by being in the ring with the best, and this is another example of that.
Yeah, two of the best wrestlers on this loaded Marigold roster are clearly Miku Ano and Mirai, and they had so many great matches in the tournament to crown the first ever United National Championship, and they're on opposite sides here. Chika Goto against somebody that is really, especially at the start of this year, is really putting a lot into her ring work, and you can see her improving each and every outing, and Minami Yuki's not that far behind. I like this booking. I like this booking a lot because the younger wrestlers are benefiting from this match, and they both were great. Obviously, Mirai and Minami Yuki here, or Miku Ano here, that's where the money is. Really great start with the two of them. Eventually, though, we get some great stuff with Chika Goto and Minami Yuki, and then you go back and forth. Excellent stuff with Mirai and Chika Goto, especially with Chika Goto really bringing the fight to Mirai, and then Miku Ano really laying in those kicks, those strikes to Minami Yuki, only to show Minami Yuki's fire. She won't stay down. She's going to keep fighting back. We're seeing a lot of fire. We're seeing a lot of fighting spirit in the young Minami Yuki, which is something we want to see from the younger talent. Really good stuff there. Eventually, we get a really excellent finish, closing stretch here with Miku Ano, Minami Yuki. Credit to Miku Ano giving Minami Yuki enough here towards the end to make her look credible, but ultimately she locks her in the Texas Cloverleaf, almost as a version of Chika Goto's giant swing, and then is able to get the cover. Kind of a weird finish. kind of a weird finish. I was like, that was kind of odd. But ultimately, I thought this was a really terrific match. And again, I like the booking because Goto and Yuki are only going to benefit from being in the ring, whether it's in the corner or across the ring from Miko Ano and Mirai. 3 and 3/4 stars. One of my favorite matches from the show.
Moving on, then we had Natsumi Shizuki and Mai Sakurai going to a time limit draw against Nagisa Nozaki and Misa Matsui. I liked this match for a number of reasons. Now, ordinarily, obviously, we don't want to see time limit draws all the time. And we didn't. This is the only one, I believe, over the 4 shows. Don't mind that at all. And the reason I don't mind this at all is because there are several story threads that you can pick up on. You've got Misa Matsui and Mai Sakurai. You've got that gentle simmering heat that Misa Matsui is going to get just before challenging for that white belt. And you know for a fact that she is going to be challenging for this white belt. It would not surprise me if at Korakuen Hall, after Mai Sakurai's white belt match, it's Misa Matsui that comes out and challenges. Would not surprise me at all. But what I really love is that lingering tension. And I say lingering tension, that now really, really aggressive tension between Natsumi Shizuki and Misa Matsui. When Misa Matsui joined Darkness Revolution, Natsumi Shizuki put all over Twitter that, why would you change? Why have you done this? It felt really betrayed by the fact that Misa Matsui's done this, because despite them being rivals, they were still friends. And that was showcased through this match, and especially the exchanges between Shizuki and Misa Matsui. Really capped off with, I don't know if you saw this, but when the bell rang to signify the time limit draw, Natsumi Shizuki just dropped Misa Matsui. Just didn't even finish the move, just dropped it on her head. I was like, brilliant, love it. I thoroughly enjoyed this match. I enjoyed the tension. I enjoyed the fact that all 4 women worked really well with each other. This was great.
Psychology, this made a lot of sense. Your wild brawl to start. And then you get a little bit, Natsumi Shizuki gets a little bit of a shine. Eventually she gets cut off. We get some heat on her. Sakurai comes in. Again, from a kayfabe aspect, she's the best wrestler in this match because she is she's the only champion in this match. She comes in and it just boot scrapes and forearms to all. Really, really puts the beat down to Nagisa Nozaki, Misa Matsui. So you think that, okay, you just had a little bit of heat on Natsumi Shizuki. The hot tag was the Sakurai, but it wasn't, because the makeup box, as I'm going to call it, comes into play, properly whacks Sakurai in the head, and where the heat is actually on my Sakurai. I'm like, oh, I didn't see that coming. I really like that. Eventually, we get the hot tag into Natsumi Shizuki after a little bit. So you had a little bit of heat on both Natsumi and my Sakurai. I like that because it's something a little bit different, but it makes sense, especially when you're establishing Misa Matsui and Nagisa Nozaki as your heels in this match and 2 of your biggest heels in this company. I'm going to echo something you said a few minutes ago, partner. I totally agree with Misa Matsui and Nagisa Nozaki either getting a run at the belts or actually winning the belts, because they were terrific here as a tag team, especially heels, getting heat, knowing what to place what, bending and breaking the rules, but not doing it in front of the referee, giving the baby faces enough to make it look they're going to make a comeback, only to cut their legs out. Crowds don't like that in a good way. It's a good way to build heat and sympathy up to your baby faces, especially when 2 of your baby faces are 2 great ass kickers and 2 great wrestlers in Mai Sakurai and Nagisa Natsumi Shizuki. I liked how they did the STO, or I think they're calling it the STK, into the Samato. I like that. She hits the STO as Misa Matsui gets up from the bump. As soon as she does, she goes right back down from the 1,000-mile-an-hour running Samato from Natsumi Shizuki. Really great teamwork here between your current white belt champion and the first ever Superfly champion. But then you get a massive big match, almost a mini match towards the end of this, one of your biggest early feuds in this company's history with Misa Matsui and Natsumi Shizuki. We go to a wild brawl. We get big bumps. We get great strikes. Ultimately, it ends with the 2 of them trading a bunch of 2 counts back and forth. And as you're down the last 10 seconds, they're just throwing bombs at each other. And then you're at the time. Then the bell rings for your time limit draw. This is my favorite match of the show. I had this at 4 stars. I thought this was a great, great match and a good way to highlight and maybe put into our heads, as you just mentioned, partner, possible tag title run for Misa Matsui and Nagisa Nozaki, because they worked really well together.
I've just taught myself out of Misa Matsui challenging for the white belt only because, so obviously we know Mai Sakurai's challenge for Korakuen, which we're going to get into shortly. if Misa Matsui challenges, I want her to win it because I think she needs to win it. If she, the character change, the good work that she's doing, and she will put on incredible matches. But I don't want Mai Sakurai to drop it yet. So maybe give her another couple of title defenses. Maybe have her drop it to Misa Matsui at the anniversary show because that show's going to be huge.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, you don't want to be beating Misa Matsui because that's your new cool new heel. She's your cool new heel, and you don't want to be beating her, especially the fact that she had so many cracks at the super flyweight championship and never won.
Yeah.
You don't want her. Now we built her up. We'll put her over in the second biggest division, and then have her eat an L 2 or 3 months into this character change that clearly is working. But I totally agree. Don't take the belt off Sakurai just yet because she's doing great. Let it play out. Let it simmer. Rasioga was great at that, and then maybe do the title change there. Yeah, I mean, if I would have Misa Matsui lose, my first loss to me would be in like 3-4 months to Utami for the red belt, as we mentioned earlier. I think that's a big matchup. So I think either way you go with Rob, I think you either have her winner of the white belt or built her up properly, which they have been doing and will continue to do to make her look like a big threat for Utami's crimson red belt. So I think either way would work because she's so good and the booking's been really strong and Sakurai's great, Utami's great. I think either one would work. But if she challenges Sakurai, she wins. If she challenges Utami, at least for right now, she loses.
Yeah. Again, I think also shout out needed for Mai Sakurai because we've seen her now team with Mika Wano and have fantastic chemistry, and Natsumi Shozuki and have great chemistry. I still regularly have to pinch myself to remind myself that Mai Sakurai is the same lower mid-carder from Stardom, and actually just how she's worked to not necessarily reinvent herself, but to be seen as a legitimately very, very, very good wrestler is more credit to her. Also, I feel like Misa Matsui deserves the belt simply because of the awesome nickname. Psycho Speed is an absolutely amazing nickname. I don't feel like I put that over enough in our Korakuen Hall review. Psycho Speed might be the greatest nickname in the history of pro wrestling, but that might just be me. Moving on to the main event then, Matt. And before we get into the main event, we had I can't remember exactly who it was. They did announce it, but they had a school performing a dance to Chiaki's entrance. Good God, they were good. They were really, really good. I expected it just to be, young kids. You're like, okay, as long as they're in time, I don't care, because even trying to get kids to dance in time at times is difficult. Jesus, they were brilliant.
Yeah, well, I think it was either before this or at their intermission. They did like a 7 or 8 minute dance in the middle of the ring.
They were brilliant,
You have to keep in mind here something too. You have to think of it when they're practicing said dance. They're probably doing it on hardwood floors. The ring moves.
Mm-hmm.
The ring moves, and you have to remember that when they did that synchronized dance in the ring, it was like 3 or 4 matches already happened. So there's a possibility the boards may have moved a little bit. So you got to remember that it's just like you're almost kind of doing a synchronized dance on like waves, because if something's off or one person's off. So that was really good. And then they come out and do it for Chiaki. It was really where they did it for her. She's a heel. So it's like, why, like, was like that a school that she went to, or is that somebody's niece or nephew? If somebody knows the answer, because it's like, why wouldn't they do it for Utami or Yuzuki? Like, why was it for Chiaki's entrance?
I was just going to say, I can't imagine you could do that dance to Bozilla's music.
Yeah, I just didn't understand. I tell you what, this was next. I think they should, obviously, because of the house, they did over 300 people. Can you imagine, Rob? They run this in a month or two with Naho Yamada with those kids.
Oh my God!
Come on,
incredible.
Right, singing, dancing. Oh man, but match was really good. Obviously, Utami and Vittoria Yuzuki, we've seen over the last handful of months great chemistry as a teamwork, and they do some great teamwork early on Chiaki. Eventually, they bend and break the rules. We get some heat onto Utami. Then we get a wild brawl. We get chair bowling, the two baby faces, the champions. They go into the crowd, and then we get back in the ring, and then again we get a little bit more of a preview of what we're getting in Corcoran Hall with Bozilla and Utami. And again, that's what majority of these shows are. It's getting reps for the younger wrestlers. It's you're obviously getting the Darkness Revolution Army over. You're getting them more in synced up as your big heel faction and the only faction in Marigold right now. And then you're driving home the point, especially these main event matches. This is our big match. This is our big match. And each and every one of these matches, Utami is not afraid to sell, not only for Bozilla, but the other members of the Darkness Revolution Army, because she understands who Utami is. She understands her job to get everybody else over in the match. Utami's a very unselfish wrestler. And the fact that she knows how to sell, know to be on the defensive, just shows you what a great wrestler she is, because it doesn't hurt her. It doesn't hurt her at all. It just builds up the sympathy for her, and you just believe in her when she's making those comebacks towards the end. Ultimately, though, the two champions, Utami and Victoria Zuki, do a great job isolating Bozilla, divide and conquer, taking her out, and then eventually it's Utami with that beautiful bridging German suplex to put away the leader of the Dancing Revolution Army, I guess, in Chiaki, with the German suplex. 4 stars for me. A really great match to send the crowd home happy for what was, and ultimately another solid show from Dream Star Fighting Marigold.
Yeah, it was a really good show. It was a really good show. That tag match and the main event were really, really good. And I think this show that we're going to talk about now, the final show from the 8th of March, was probably, from a consistency standpoint, like the best show of this tour. I've really enjoyed this run of Marigold shows. I must admit, really enjoyed them, which is a good show because do a podcast about it. But anyway, moving on, we are moving on to the 8th of March, night 3 of the Spring Victory Series show. Osaka 176 box once again for Marigold, an attendance of 288 people. It's not the lowest that they've achieved in the venue, because they did hit 285 in October for the Fantastic Adventure Tour, but it is a noticeable decrease of around 10.5% from the last time they ran the venue, which was the 22nd of February. In terms of your results then, your results are as follows. We opened with a singles match, Chika Goto defeating Ryoko Sakamura with the giant swing. The return, Matt Turner, a flying penguin, saw Ryo Sato and Flying Penguin defeat Naoya Ishikawa and Riara. Flying Penguin gained the win with a diving body press in 7 minutes and 58 seconds. Singles match, Victoria Yuzuki defeated Minami Yuki with the moonsault in 6 minutes and 48 seconds. Match 4. 6-woman tag action. Mai Sakurai, Miko Ano, and the debuting Irina Yamanaka defeated the Darkness Revolution team of Chiaki, Misa Matsui, and Megaton with a really ingenious leg submission that I've never seen. It almost looked like a modified Indian deathlock of sort of. It was really well done and worked really well. That was in 14 minutes and 8 seconds. Irina Yamanaka, getting the submission victory. Passion Countdown. What a match. Nanae Takahashi defeating Natsumi Shozuki in 60 minutes and 20 seconds with the Nanoraka. And then in your main event, Bozilla and Nagisa Nozaki defeating Utami Hayashishita and Mirai. Another really, really good match. Bozilla pinning Utami with the drill a hole pile driver. Matt Turner, let's start with this opening match then. Chika Goto, Ryoko Sakamura, thoughts?
Hanson, what was the time on this one?
This was 6 minutes and 50.
Okay, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Again, Chika Goto is somebody that's really excelling her way up the card. Again, Ryoko Sakamura, we've seen her on majority of these openers, a really good outing. The thing with Chika Goto, considering the fact that they're putting a little bit more stock into her and the fact she's doing really well, is they need to give her an established finisher. We've seen her win matches with that modified dominator, and I'm like, that just doesn't do it for me. And she wins here with a giant swing, which you really don't see. Again, I thought this was great. I thought Sakamura, again, ever improving. Chika Goto was great. Great opener, 3.25 stars. But if they're going to keep pushing Chikagoto, and they should, absolutely they should, and she's going to be getting wins on these underneath matches, they need to give her an established finisher, because this giant swing, it's over as a move, but not as a finisher. I don't think anybody's really buying it. Again, ultimately, really, really solid match. 3.25 stars for me.
Moving on, then we move on to the long-awaited return of live singing in 176 box. It's the return of Flying Penguin. Flying Penguin and Ryo Saito versus Naho, Yamada, and Riara. Again, thoroughly enjoyable, if not exceptional, in the nicest possible way.
Yeah, fun match. Again, I like the fact that they've been pairing up Ryo Saito and Riara up. So I would have flipped this a little. And I think just because of the bubbly personalities that are Flying Penguin and now Ishikawa, I think that they should have flipped tag partners there. Ultimately, though, no, this was a fun match. Obviously, Ryo Saito works really well with Naoya Ishikawa. They have really that hard-hitting, great submission style offense. Riara was terrific here, but ultimately, this was all about getting Flying Penguin the big win. And the Penguin flew. Yes, she did, Rob Goodwin.
She did
yes,
indeed.
She did. With that top rope splash, 3.25 stars. So good to see Flying Penguin come back and help out this roster. This poor roster, this great roster, but this roster that's been just riddled with injuries. So again, a solid enough match, and it's so great to see her back in the ring, because she's just a phenomenal talent. She mixes in really well with this roster. She really does. She fits in perfectly.
Victoria Yuzuki against Minami Yuki, and what is certainly Minami Yuki's best showing in my eyes of this run of shows. And again, I imagine listeners and viewers are probably bored with me sort of expressing how great Victoria Yuzuki is. But again, she's so captivating to watch. And I thought that her and Minami Yuki had a really good exchange. Even though the match only goes, a shade under 7 minutes, I still think it's a really good match. And again, I cannot stress enough to have been criticized for doing the moon. Hats off to you, Victoria Yuzuki. Hats off.
Yeah, again, this was a great match, and the fact that, again, Victoria Yuzuki only wrestling a year and a half, leading this match. Minami Yuki is somebody that is ever improving each and every outing. Singles match, so there's no wrestler to tag in or out. Really, I would like to see this go another minute or two, but I understand
Yeah,
you
me too.
maybe don't want to overstay its welcome. But Minami Yuki, absolutely, it was this almost like a sink or swim here, and she swam. She swam to the point like, hey, I could have done another 2 or 3 minutes here. And Victoria Yuzuki did a great job giving her enough in this match and really leading this match. Great ring positioning, great timing, really great back and forth stuff between the two. I liked how Minami Yuki is anytime Victoria Yuzuki in the beginning of this match is starting to build up her offense. Yuki's able to stop it with the judo throw, and then going into that the hammerlock submission, not the rear naked choke, but the guillotine submission, like really trying to take out some of the wind of Victoria Yuzuki, because she's the super flyweight champion for a reason, Rob, because she's one of the faster, hard-hitting wrestlers in this company. And Minami Yuki is trying to ground, her game is to trying to ground her, try to take away the speed. I really like that. Eventually, though, it is Victoria Yuzuki with the super kick and just some of those brutal strikes that puts Minami Yuki down enough time to hit that top rope moonsault. This was 3.5 stars for me. I totally agree. I thought this was Minami Yuki's best performance, and she's only going to get better from here on out.
So we saw Arina Yamanaka come to the ring during the Korakuen Hall show. We know she's a 2-time BBJ champion. And we said after the Korakuen Hall show, she was incredibly elegant and had the posture of a star. She basically walked in this floor-length black dress and basically stole the gaze of everyone in Korakuen Hall. You felt like, in terms of presentation, looked incredible. Came out here for her first match in Marigold, exactly the same thing again. You've got Mai Sakurai, the United National Champion, and Miko Ano on the same team, and Arina Yamanaka stole the spotlight, waltzed to the ring, the splits to get into the ring. Genuinely, she's got that energy of a star. Now, in the ring, there was a couple of hiccups, certainly. But overall, I think if Arina Yamanaka is someone that is going to be persistently on this roster, she could do very, very well.
Yeah, I totally agree. Presence, or you're drawn to her. And again, you look at everybody that's in this match. Again, Miko Ano, Mai Sakurai, two big stars for this company. Number 1 and number 2 United National Champion. Chiaki, badass. Misa Matsui, the cool new thing. And Megaton is somebody that completely sticks out in this roster.
I was going to say that, and Megaton's also here.
No, Megaton, again, nobody else is like her. She sticks out. She sticks out on this roster and the whole arena. When you have Arena, she comes in and again, you just have this aura. We made mention first time. I've never seen her before. I don't think you did either until that Cork and Hall show. Like, this is somebody. This is somebody. She has presence and she's really solid in the ring. And again, and no disrespect to the previous company she's worked for, but probably the talent isn't as good as you get in Marigold. You know, with your Misa Matsui's, with your Mai Sakurai's, with your Mirai. So she's only going to get better. They did a great job on the presentation with her. They made her shine. They made her look great in the spots here. This match was built for her, but we had some underlining stories here of a lot of exchanges with Misa Matsui and Mai Sakurai. And I even have in my notes possible United National Championship match. That's a possibility. Obviously, Megaton, she plays her role in here really well, getting in the cheap heat, getting in the comedy, doing what she needs to do. Chiaki is a lot of the hammer in this match that eventually Miko Ano eventually takes away. But then it is Urani Yamiyaki is able to get. Am I saying that right, partner?
Arina Yamanaka.
Arena. It's easy to remember. Man in the Arena. Arena with that modified Indian deathlock, almost into like the bridge. Cool. Into the bridge, and I liked how they built it. I like the psychology of the match. This was really good. Arena, I thought, was terrific here. She's the wrestler that we didn't know anything about going into this match. She came out the star. Simple booking, easy booking. They put it with 5 other wrestlers so you can kind of build everything around. And again, we got a lot of teases with Mai Sakurai and Misa Matsui. A lot of great storytelling in this match, but ultimately you made a new star in one match just based on the aura and how really good she was in the ring. And the fact that I would love to see her be in the ring with, wrestle Natsumi Shozuki or Miko Ano somewhere in the future, or Victoria Yuzuki, because again, I think she's only going to get better and somebody that Rossy Ogawa can really highlight and spotlight in this company. I had this match at 3.5 stars, but it wasn't about, again, a solid enough match, but it really was about the presentation of somebody I expect them to push because they put a lot behind her and she has a lot of aura coming in and out of this match.
Yeah, this is the first time I've seen Arina Yamanaka any sort of match involving her. I think there was the one moment where there was a bit of a miscommunication during a suplex with her and Misa Matsui, but I actually think they covered for it very, very, very well. And I think it's the only real bad low point of the match, the bad point of the match. I think, again, from a presence point of view, from an aura point of view, the confidence she holds herself with, that I think if we're able to cultivate that in-ring style, she's going to be very, very special talent for Stardom. For Marigold in the future. Oh, moving on to this match, the semi-main event, Nanae Takahashi and Natsumi Shozuki. So, Matt, I imagine backstage there was a conversation where Nanae was talking to Natsumi. Natsumi says, "I have respect. I'm not going to hit you that hard. I'm going to hit you, but I'm not going to go over the top." And Nanae slaps her in the face and says, "You hit me as hard as you can." And Natsumi Shozuki went, "Yeah, right, I reckon I could do that." And for 16 minutes, Natsumi Shozuki proceeds to try and kick the spine out of Nanae Takahashi. I thought this match was fantastic. I thought these two had phenomenal chemistry together, whether it's the groundwork at the start, whether it's the striking, whether it's the work that Natsumi Shozuki does by just barreling into Nanae Takahashi with some of these strikes. Absolutely loved this match. Really, really enjoyed it, Matt. One of my favorites that Marigold have put on this year without a shadow of a doubt.
Folks, we mention a lot of times on this podcast on Rob Goodwin's C plus at best C plus ability to return a text message. So hold on, I'm going somewhere with this. So when I get a text early in the morning, which I am up early because I
Yes.
do my workouts in the morning, that Rob texts me first, saying they just released the show on the 8th. Nane Takahashi Natsumi Shozuki was fantastic. I was like, oh, we're recording today. I said, I'm not going to be able to watch it. But then because I'm a time fanatic, I'm like, let me work ahead and I will watch said match on my lunch break. And that's exactly what I did. I'm glad I did. I'm glad Rob took and that's how I know how good this match was. When not only did it wasn't even a return he texted me first, folks. I felt like the prettiest girl at the ball. And he said, you got to watch this match. And I was like,
do you know what's funny? Genuinely, when I text you, I looked at my phone. I was like, it's 4:45 in the morning his time. I was like, anybody else, I'd be like, oh, I shouldn't have texted him that early. Oh, Matt Turner will be awake. Absolutely. You text me back about 2 minutes later as well. I was like, I knew it.
Technically, it was quarter to 6. Quarter to
daylight
saving. Right now we're 4 hours ahead. So I was just finishing my protein shake, which was delicious. I was like, oh, okay, how about that? But yeah, so anybody else, because I'm the psycho speed of the Marigold Standard.
Really is.
But the point I'm trying to make here, folks, is Rob Goodwin was dead on. He said this is really, really good. This is one of the best matches Marigold's put on all year. And he's absolutely right. This was terrific. One of the best Natsumi Shozuki matches that I've ever seen. I've only been watching her for about a year. She's had some really great matches. This was phenomenal. This was terrific. Again, the fact that Nane is 2 months away from her retirement and putting on, and I'm going to say it right now, a 4.5-star match goes to show you what a great wrestler she is. I mean, these two, just the back and forth. Again, Nane in these passion matches, she tries to insert her dominance, and Natsumi wasn't having any of it. And anytime Nane would get the power advantage, Natsumi would just use her speed advantage to kind of ramp up a lot of her offense. Eventually, this match spills to the floor. And you figure out this is Nane's wheelhouse, right? You know, she's the bigger, stronger, the vet of the two. We've seen her and Bozilla tear apart Cork and Hall. And it looks like that Nane is going to really assert her dominance here. Natsumi Suzuki's like, nope, not today. Not today, Passion. Nane hits a proper kick and then a running Samato on the floor, which goes to show you the resiliency and just the fighting spirit of Natsumi Shozuki. This match did so much for Natsumi Shozuki. And then she gets in the ring and it's slingshot knees after slingshot knees. She's really dominating. She's not doing what Nane does to the other wrestlers, to Nane, really just dominating Nane. Stiff slaps back and forth. Nane then slows down Natsumi Suzuki with the ankle lock and transitions that into the figure 4, which we saw Nane put away Chika Goto on the show just about a week or so prior. Nane hits a sliding lariat for a 2 count. Natsumi fights back again with some brutal, brutal back kicks to Nane. Natsumi then hits a head kick for a 2 count. And then we do see Nane is able to come back with her version of the Northern Lights bomb and then the Nanae rocker for the 3 count. 4.5 stars for me. Again, this was terrific. My only little nitpick, and we talked about this off air, is I would have put Natsumi Shozuki over because I think it would have helped her out more. Regardless, even with the loss, she's somebody that you can definitely push up to the top of the card with a performance like this, because like this style of match, you can main event any building that Marigold goes to on their loop, and it's going to draw, and it's going to be excellent. Again, 4.5 stars for me, Rob. Off the top of my head, I think the only matches this year in Marigold I enjoyed more was Sari Utami and Miko Ano versus Mai Sakurai, your main event and co-main event of First Stream. Other than that, again, I'm just kind of going through the catalog in my head. I don't know if there's a match that from Marigold I enjoyed more than this one. And this is a good possibility that this match will finish in my top 5 favorite Joshi/women's matches when I record it and put on YouTube this Saturday. However, I did watch Momo Watanabe and Mercedes Moné, and I did watch Sherry versus Sari. So it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky what's going to make the top 5. But again, 4.5 stars. I think this one probably will. We'll find out. The only way to find out is tune into YouTube on Saturday when I drop said episode.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up actually about Natsumi Shozuki not getting the win here, because it was something we discussed off air, and we talked about sort of Natsumi Shizuki, I believe, is 35. I believe. And again, I've got ages wrong before quite spectacularly. So please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think she's 35. If you are looking for Nanae Takahashi to give someone the rub, I think you are looking at someone like a Victoria Yuzuki. She is going to benefit most from Nanae Takahashi giving the rub to someone. Okay, Chika Goto, I don't think is there yet. Natsumi Shizuki, again, she's sort of mid card. She's not someone you are looking to build the company around long term. However, Victoria Yuzuki, who coincidentally they have a Passion Countdown match tomorrow as we record in Shinjuku Face, I think that could legitimately end either in a time limit draw or in Victoria Yuzuki getting the win. Simply because Victoria Yuzuki is 20, is a champion, bag full of talent, and is someone you are looking to build the company around. What better way to build the company around and give her that sort of nod of approval than by giving her a pinfall victory over Nanae Takahashi, whose pinfall losses in Marigold you can count on one hand? Like, that's a huge rub. We'll see, obviously. Again, if it's a great match, I'm not necessarily bothered. If it's a great match, I'm fine. Like this, it was a great match. And I think Natsumi Shizuki got something from this. I felt like she was let off the leash a little bit in this match. I feel like because she wasn't leading it, because she wasn't the glue that was holding it together, she was able to just go at this match and tear at it. And I think she really benefited from that fantastic match. Of all the matches on this card, on this show that we're reviewing, absolutely go and check this out, and absolutely go and check Victoria Yuzuki versus Rhea Sato out as well, because they're both worth watching. Also, this main event, Utami Hayashishita and Mirai versus Bozilla and Nagisa Nozaki. I know we have seen Utami and Nagisa Nozaki in a singles match before. I'd like to see it again. I know we've seen Mirai versus Nagisa Nozaki. I'd like to see it again. I know we've seen Mirai and Bozilla. I'd like to see it again. It was simply a reminder of all of the matches I want to see again in Marigold.
Yeah, great drive home. I mean, how do you go after? I mean, you have to follow that match. Obviously, the match we just
Absolutely.
talked about was better, but at the same time, this one kind of had more intrigue because again, Bozilla and Utami. Again, I know I sound like a broken record. We're driving it home, and the fact that you have Bozilla, the other hardest hitter in the Darkness Revolution Army, and Nagisa Nozaki, and then maybe the hardest hitter in all of Marigold, either Mirai or Miko Ano. Heads you win, tails you win. Or if you're wrestling, heads you lose, tails you lose, because you will lose your head and your tail if you're wrestling Mirai and Miko Ano. But match starts out, and again, the bell rings, and Utami wants to start. Bozilla wants to start. They start out really well. Then, of course, because it's the main event, you have to have a wild brawl, because why not? We go back in the ring. We heat on Utami. The heat doesn't last too long. Tag into Mirai. She comes and cleans house, and then Nagisa Nozaki cuts her off. I thought that was really interesting. You didn't have Bozilla, your main eventer, cut her off. You had Nagisa Nozaki cut off Mirai. So I really like that. We're building heat on Mirai. We get the hot tag to Utami. She comes in, lariats, forearms, shoulder tackles to all. She eventually takes out Nagisa Nozaki. We go back to her and Bozilla. Excellent stuff. They shoot the big German suplex onto Bozilla. We again right back and forth with Nagisa and Mirai. Eventually, the ref gets pulled. We get some chair shots to Utami Hayashishita that ultimately leads her downfall. Again, I got no problem with the cheating because it didn't happen in front of the referee. And again, what are you doing? You're building heat onto the Darkness Revolution Army, especially Bozilla. You're getting sympathy behind your babyface champion. And then Bozilla hits the drill a hole pile driver onto Utami for the 3 count. And again, this is just an art of wrestling that Utami does better than 99%, better than the other main eventers in all of wrestling. She can lose, and she doesn't lose anything behind it because she knows how to lose. What happened? She dominated Bozilla in the beginning and the end. She hits the big German suplex, cheating that takes out Utami, and then the big pile driver. I would not be shocked if we see the pile driver in Korakuen Hall used for a near finish, Rob, because it's something Bozilla has established in this almost year that Marigold has been a company. Is that's her one really, really big devastating finisher. And you can play up that role, and I'm sure Sonny and Stu, because they do a great job on commentary, if they are on commentary, which I imagine they will be, they're going to put that over that the drill hole pile driver is pretty much like the nuclear finish from Bozilla, and they'll put it over that she hit on Utami on the 8th and pinned her. and I have a feeling that she'll hit it here, and it'll be drawn out for a long 2.9 count, only for Utami to really build her comeback up. Really good match, great psychology, and again, Bozilla has that victory over Utami now. So again, if you're looking at it from a kayfabe aspect, Bozilla is going into this championship match as the favorite because she has a clear win in the middle of the ring with some bending and breaking of the rules, but the ref didn't see it over Utami. The rule books will state Bozilla, pile driver over Utami Hayashishita. A really great match to end another solid show. 3 3/4 stars for me.
And that brings us to an end of the show reviews. Just very quickly, we are aware that obviously Marigold ran a show on the 9th of March in Chunichi Hall in Aichi, but obviously that hasn't dropped on Wrestle Universe. It's due to drop tomorrow as we record, but we felt like if we waited any bloody longer, we'd end up with 85 shows to watch. So next week, we will review the show in Chunichi Hall and the live show from Shinjuku Face as well. Just a reminder of that card from Aichi, by the way. Mirai versus Mai Sakurai, Utami Hayashishita versus Victoria Yuzuki as well are the two top singles matches on that card. Definitely worth checking out when that drops tomorrow morning. Just before we get into Gaze at Julia, Stardom, oh my God, I need to stop saying that. Marigold are running that Shinjuku Face show. It does have the return of Kazuna Tanaka, thank the Lord. But the rest of the card is as follows. Three-way match, Natsumi Shozuki versus Ria Sato versus Ryoko Sakimura. Singles match, Mirai versus Minami Yuki. The return of Kazuna Tanaka. She'll be taking on Nagisa Nozaki in singles action. 6-woman tag, Miko Aono, Mai Sakurai, and Chan Yota returning to Marigold action against the Darkness Revolution team of Chiaki and Megaton and Gigaton. Ooh.
Spooky.
Indeed, spoopy. And then Passion Countdown, obviously Nanae Takahashi versus Kazuna Tanaka. Oh my God, versus Victoria Yuzuki. It's very late here. Nanae Takahashi versus Victoria Yuzuki. That's going to be great, whatever the result. And then in your main event, Utami Hayashishita and Chika Goto versus Bozilla and Misa Matsui. Matt, those top two matches aside, because they're going to be great. Kazuna Tanaka versus Nagisa Nozaki. I know that Kazuna Tanaka's only just coming back. That's going to be great, surely.
Welcome back, kid. Here's a foot to the face. But no, it's going to be great because, Kazuna Tanaka, we're struggling here, folks. Kazuna Tanaka can really, really fight back with those kicks and forearms. So that'll be right up my alley, hard-hitting match between the two.
With that being said, Matt, there's one thing left. And that thing is to gaze at Julia.
Our gaze at Julia the last 2 weeks on NXT TV. Obviously, there's been several rumors that Julia is a little bit banged up, so she hasn't really been wrestling that much, which makes sense because a lot of the matches she's had been either multi-person matches or 6-person matches. So this is just building up for your champion versus champion title for title match. It's actually going to be taking place tomorrow as of this recording in New York City. I believe the theater outside of Madison Square Garden. It'll be Julia versus Steph Vacker, champion versus champion, title for title. So just these past 2 weeks, we just had some promos, in-ring promos, video packages, just hyping up this match. So again, from what we understand, from what all the dirt sheets have been reporting, is that she's not injured. She's just a little bit banged up. So hopefully these last 2 or 3 weeks, she's been able to take time to heal, and that her and Steph Vacker can put on the absolute banger that we know that they can put on. So again, not too much of a gaze at Julia, but next week we will have a full report of that match from New York City, the Big Apple, as Julia takes on one Stephanie Vacker.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we bring to a close this episode of the Marigold Standard. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have enjoyed recording it. A really good 4 shows from Marigold, and we've got another 2 to go to next week, as well as the march towards Korakuen Hall on the 30th, where we've got Bozilla and Utami, and it looks like we have Mai Sakurai versus Arina Yamanaka as well. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find the podcast and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you to everyone that's already subscribed, that's listened once, that's listened for 5 minutes, or that's listened religiously. We massively appreciate every single one of you. Thank you. If you haven't already, check out Patreon, patreon.com/the StardomCast for all of these episodes early and ad-free for as little as a solitary $1 a month. You can also check out the website talkjoshi.com, where you can get all of our episodes archived, as well as news, reviews, previews, and all of the history and updates and stats to do with Marigold and Stardom. You can find us on Twitter at the Marigold Podcast. You can find us on other social medias at Talk Joshi. You can talk to me on Twitter at Real Rob Goodwin. Mr. Matt Turner, sign us off, good sir.
Folks, questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, a general conversation, whatever you need, Matt Turner OF on the Instagram, on the Twitter, on the Blue Sky, and the TikTok as well. If social media is not your thing, or you just want to shoot me an email, the email address simply is thestardomcast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap up for another episode of the Marigold Standard. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do it without you, because like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast, because when we're all together, everybody's different, everybody's special.